over the last 10 years, you've seen the right complaining how you can't say anything these days, even though they've got huge platforms. Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, all these huge figures that are some of the most prominent people in society. Charlie Kirk, massive views, massive influence. Now the script is really flipped. Now they are the censorious ones. They are the ones calling for people to be doxxed, people to lose their jobs. You can't criticize Trump. You can't criticize Nigel Farage. The most minimal pushback from Keir Starmer, and he's inciting violence. We cannot let these people forget that they don't care about free speech. It's all a means to just say the most lying, misinformed bullshit. And any pushback, they're like, oh, we can't say anything. They are so cowardly, so weak. Well, let's get into the clip with Mehdi Hasan and Owen Jones, where they go into it a bit more.
I actually think there's a very
We all
high...
need a plan B.
Yeah, I think with the general sort of fascism, it's not actually funny. I genuinely think there is a risk of that happening to you and a lot of other people.
They're very clear about how free speech doesn't matter anymore in the US. It doesn't matter what your citizenship status is. They want to be able to revoke passports, visas, for anyone who says something they don't like about Israel or Charlie Kirk or Donald Trump. It's scary.
It's interesting, isn't it? All that, hate speech is, facts don't care about your feelings, safe space. And now hate speech just means...
It was all projection.
Of course. It was all...
But that's the thing. It's completely different nature to someone on the left being upset by racism or misinformation, racist lies, misogyny, and state-sponsored censorship, going after journalists, trying to ban protests. Very different level. And they know they're lying. They actually like this shit. They love it when Donald Trump shuts people down, calling nasty, the most minimal pushback. And it's like, no, you can't. Do not question the leader, because they don't. They don't believe in free speech, only for themselves. And they think constantly that they're the victim. Any pushback, we saw it with Nigel Farage, the most minimal pushback against Nigel Farage. Keir Starmer's inciting violence. How woke are these people? How fragile. But this is fascism. The most minimal pushback, you actually ask questions, it crumbles. The Andrew Neil interview with Richard Tice, just asking questions about their policy, gets angry, gets tetchy. These people are so fragile.
They were all... we said this over and over again. They
never
didn't care
believed
about
it.
It's a ruse, all the rest of it. And now we have the state openly talking about, criminalising, critiquing or opposing the state.
He wants to lock up on a conspiracy charge the Code Pink women who heckled him at a restaurant in DC.
Yeah, he sat there, didn't he, with the Attorney General behind him saying, can we look up how to...
And all the left wanted was enforcing terms of services on Twitter. Now you can just be a Nazi, and that's been normalised. It's been part of the fabric of the discourse over the last 4 years. And they moan about, the voiceless. No, they have a voice. Reform voters, Donald Trump, they have the biggest voice. They have the biggest platform. Elon Musk, the wealthiest man on the planet. They are not the silent majority. They are the vocal minority. They are, and they don't represent the most of us. This isn't democratic. They don't care about democracy. Donald Trump, insurrection boy. It's becoming so blatant now that I think a lot of people are going, actually, yeah, Nigel Farage is a fraud. Yeah, Donald Trump, again, his popularity is in the bin. The economy, jobs, consumer confidence. So bad already. And we're only like 9 months into the presidency.
But make that happen. Heckling. Yeah, heckling. He said they're a paid agent.
Literally what American democracy and Western democracy is supposed to be built on, the ability to make fun of your leaders in public, protest them in public. Apparently now, it's not just a...
Yeah, but fascism can't take it. Donald Trump cannot take it. The most milquetoast criticism. That's why he's banning journalists. He can't take questioning. The same with Nigel Farage. Gets so tetchy when you ask him questions about his policy. It's like, okay, we need to know the policy. Richard Tice. These people are incredibly fragile. And just the most basic criticism makes them cry and shit their bed.
Crime. It's a RICO crime. It's a conspiracy.
He said as well, not just her to an ABC journalist said, what is hate speech? And what does the Attorney General mean? And he said, I think people like you coming after me saying nasty things about me, you've already had to pay up all this.
He's the whiniest, thin-skinned little snowflake that we've ever had.
Yeah.
in our public life. It's insane.
Yeah, Pam Bondi's response to criticizing Charlie Kirk was, "This is hate speech." This is the right now talking about hate speech, something they were opposed to, but now they're the snowflakes, they're the wokies who, you know, and it is literally you can't say anything against these people. You can't have free speech anymore. There's no free speech on the left. You will be deplatformed for criticizing Donald Trump. This is state-sponsored censorship, and they love it. Don't let them. Don't think they're against it. No, they fucking love it.
How perpetually aggrieved he is.
And that is what the ideologues around him know, because he's not an ideologue. He's not there sitting round going through the intricacies of white nationalism and all the rest of it. He's instinctively, that's where he is. But those people around him know how to manipulate him. They know he's thin-skinned. They know they've got this big agenda. The thing is, I said this before, I mean, it was an obvious thing to say, but I said before he became president, those people were just looking for an incident or a crisis, maybe a terrorist attack, maybe some protests or riot or whatever, and they would use it to try and drive through attacks to shut down democracy. And that's what they've done with Charlie Kirk. It is a Reichstag fire moment. That's certainly how a lot of them see it. They see it as a means to criminalise the opposition. And I mean, they're talking about, like, you know, these big networks. They're talking about everything from George Soros, who's the traditional bogeyman of, for example, the Hungarian regime. They use that to shut democracy, to the left. And, you know, you kind of think like Zoran Mandani, hopefully, if he becomes mayor of New York, he's already said he'll take over New York. I mean, it's not, this isn't just...
they've talked about challenging his citizenship. I mean, this is their go-to move now for those of us who are naturalised American citizens like Mamdani and myself. You mentioned Hungary. Oh, and we've talked about this.
But this is a key component of fascism, that the rules don't apply to me. Like rule of law, evidence, logic, critical thinking, equality. It's like, I deserve all this. I deserve good faith, empathy, understanding, but you don't. And this is what we're up against. And we're told, oh, you got to listen to these people. Yes, listen. But if they're talking shit, they're being racist and they're spreading disinformation. But this is the point where we go, actually, we're not going to listen. We need to fight back against this, because the DNC, what are they doing? Nothing. What is Labour Party doing? After a year, he's pushing back the most minimal. What's going on? What is going on? And they're constantly fighting against us. The media environment they have, so sophisticated and well-funded, and they're like, oh, the left are so powerful. They control the media. No, we fucking don't. We have nothing. And already, when we push back, they're scared of us. That's how weak they are. We need to realize how weak the right is. Just how fragile and how weak Trump's presidency is, and how Nigel Farage, the most basic scrutiny, he falls apart.
This is a global phenomenon. I'm here in the UK just a few days after a far-right march through London. Over 100,000 people turned up for this march that was organised by Tommy Robinson, who I thought was still in prison, but I can never keep track of whether he's in prison, out of prison, for whatever latest crime he's committed. I'm sitting in the US and I'm trying to tell Americans, this is really bad, because the UK traditionally was insulated from the kind of far-right politics that you've seen on the continent.
Yeah, that's true. Our biggest crowning achievement historically of the last 100 years was World War II. Much of our patriotism is defined by the poppy and us defeating fascism. People have forgotten that now. That the inequality, the discontent, the alienation, people have forgotten that. And I want to end on here a bit of a kind of tangent. Femi did a video kind of criticizing Gary's economics about, are reform voters racist? And I think it is complicated. Not all of them are racist, but we have to, I agree with Femi, look at the fact that they're platforming Lucy Connolly as this hero who was convicted for inciting racial hatred. The fact that, as I posted the other day, a great video from Political X, there's numerous occasions where Nigel Farage has been clearly racist. Too many to mention here. Why aren't we allowed to criticize the racism? We should be able to be honest about how Nigel Farage, Richard Tice and their ilk are sowing racism, often through dog whistles, hints, obfuscation and coded language. So it makes it seem like, oh, I'm not racist. I just care about my country. I just care about the changing demographics. I just care about I would, okay, maybe. But how do you distinguish between people who are sincere about the potential problems of immigration, especially because it has gone up massively due to Brexit, Boris Johnson, and the Tory party, and a hatred that has been made kind of normalized by the far right, by Tommy Robinson, Jordan Peterson, all these right wing demagogues who were just saying, yeah, the problem is immigrants. The problem is the left. It's woke. It's, treating refugees as humans. This is what's causing the disintegration of Western civilization. Whereas we know it's not true. It's capitalism. It's inequality. It's the fact that you're not getting paid the wage you deserved. The fact that you can't afford a house. The fact that your future is looking pretty bleak right now with climate change, division, and they don't care about you. That's the thing. The right doesn't care about people. It doesn't. Do you think Jordan Peterson or Charlie Kirk care? I mean, look at his wife. She's laughing all the way to the bank now. She's happy as Larry. 2 weeks after the death of Charlie Kirk, she's happy. She's moved on. She's, you know, moving on to the grift, and good luck to the woman, I say. But it's pretty depressing, the situation. It's pretty depressing because the amount of bad faith on the right here is just so blatant. So blatant. The dishonesty, the lies, the disinformation. And it's only going to get worse. And people eat this shit up. They eat it up. It's pure emotion, pure hatred. Just owning the left. And that's what they're good at, hating us. They're going, they're the enemy. But we need to recognize that they're the enemy, the people who lie. Elon Musk, Donald Trump. These are bad people. They don't care about life. They don't care about improving people's living standards. And they don't care about you. On the right, they don't. Why would they? There's no interest, no class interest for them to care about you or your life, your future. They're in it for themselves. Nigel Farage is in it for himself. Donald Trump, it's so obvious if you look. But people aren't interested anymore. They're interested in just harming the other person, the brown person, the leftist, the neighbor who they hate because they stole their bin. This is how petty we've become, and it's been enabled by the right. So after the ramble, tell me what you think. Where are we going now? Where are we going? Because I'm pretty doomer about the next few years. I have hope, but I think things have to get darker before the light comes at the end of the tunnel. And often, unfortunately, it's another train coming. So tell me your thoughts below, and I'll see you in the next video.